Hey everyone, Paul Pro Scale Models. Welcome to another video build. Today we're going to be building Ford's Tamiya's. I was corrected, it was 1-to-1. Hey everyone, Paul Pro Scale Models. Welcome to another video build. Today we're going to be starting Tamiya's 124 Ford GT. So yes, this was a very kind gift from one of my patrons. Thank you very much, Graham. Graham contacted me with the words, I hope you don't think I'm being cheeky, but if I was to send you this kit, would you build it? And I said, of course. So Graham sent it to me, and here we are. Very, very kind of you, Graham. Thank you very much, buddy. I built this kit before, did it a number of years ago. There's actually a review on the channel if you go back through and have a look. I didn't video build it, and I always regretted it. And the weird coincidence is, as Graham sent me this kit, my built one sold on Etsy and travelled all the way to Switzerland. Somebody bought it to put on display in their own collection. So really weird coincidence that one came in, one went out. So here we are today for the build. It's going to be mostly out of the box, bar a set of 3D printed wheels, because I went down the 3D printed printer avenue, which didn't last long. I'll discuss it in the video a bit more. So we had some aftermarket wheels. So the rest of it will be pretty much out of the box. So that's it. So you can get early access on all these videos by becoming a patron in the link down below. You get 3 months early access. You get a Saturday bench update every week. You get a Pro Scale Paints 10% discount depending on which tier patron you go to. You get access to a supporter Facebook group, supporter Facebook Messenger chat as well as me being able to keep doing these videos with your support. The links for that are down below. But without any further hesitation, let's get on with this build. Okay, so as you can see, I've already been through the instructions and I've already used a highlighter to mark all the parts we're going to require cutting off and cleaning up prior to painting. Now, there's several ways to build this kit. You can either put all the parts in place and then paint it and clear coat it, or you can leave them all separate and glue them in place. For me, I'm going to work my way through and figure out what is the best way to do this. So we're going to glue some parts in place now. Other parts we're going to leave separate and paint the base colour on. And then we're going to assemble it together for clear coat. I've built this kit before. It wasn't a video build, sadly. So the first time I built it, I assembled everything. I put the side panels on that form the air tunnel through the back of the body next to the engine bay. And I did find it a bit more difficult to paint. So I'm going to leave them off this time and see how that works out. Once it's all painted up, we'll glue them in place for clear coat later on. So we're going to use our Tamiya cutters to cut all the parts off the sprue, and then using some UMP thinny sticks and sponges, we're going to clean everything up nice and carefully and get everything prepped ready for primer. So as you see, I've got parts cut off now. All the parts I've highlighted, we've cut off. I'm just getting rid of any sprue attachment points, any seam lines or any imperfections that may be in the plastic. Now, being a Tamiya kit, it's pretty much flawless, so we're literally just cleaning up sprue attachment points and any seam lines that may be in the kit from the mould process. UMP sanders are good for this job, using the 400 thinny and the 220 thinny sponge there, just to clean everything up. Use the sponge to get on all the corners and what have you, and then on the straight areas, we use the thinny stick to make sure we don't round any parts off. So quite a few separate parts to this bodywork, so including the mirrors as well. You can see all the parts at the top ready to be assembled. So like I said, we're going to follow the instructions, have a look through and work out our best procedure for getting this to paint. Like I said, I have built this before many years ago when the kit first came out. There is a review back on the channel from then. I didn't video build and I always regretted it. So when Graham offered to buy me the kit to do a video build, I thought, yes, you know what? It'll make a good video build for the channel. So here we are. So we're just gluing in these side panels, just getting them in place, a little bit of extra thin. Now we don't want to squeeze any molten plastic out, so we're not applying any pressure to the parts because some of these are natural seam lines on the car. So we're just going to get them glued in place, no pressure, and just let it all dry. And then just go through and figure out where everything needs to go. Now on these front sections here, they are actually panel lines where they attach, so don't get any molten plastic in there. Literally hold it in place, hit it with your Tamiya extra thin, and then just let it dry. Don't try and get rid of the seam lines by applying too much pressure, or filling it in with putty, what have you, because like I say, on the real car, it is actually a panel line. So there's some very careful glue application. Now, that tab that's ahead of my thumb looks like it's not supposed to be there. I'm not going to lie, even I nearly cut it off, but it is actually a structural part of the front end of the car. So make sure you leave that in place. There we go. So quick test fit of the rear light cluster, bumper, the whole unit on the back literally goes on as one unit. Fits like a glove, this thing. Really nice quality Tamiya kit. Not that old. I would say it's about 4 or 5 years old now. It's a stunning kit of an absolutely beautiful car, and I'm just checking the fit. All seems to be good. And again, I'm just going to hit it with the Tamiya Extra Thin. This is actually my Tamiya Extra Thin Plasti-Weld mix of glue, which I do have a video on the channel. It makes a Tamiya Extra Thin a little bit hotter, but it means it doesn't evaporate as quick as the pure Plasti-Weld. So it's a mix I've been using 50-50 for quite some time. Like I say, there is a video on the channel showing how I mix it. Now this side panel here did have a little bit of molten plastic, so and a few glue marks. I'm just like using a UMP sponge just to remove those. Same on the other side. And this way we're going to clean up the body. Now there's not a lot of seam lines on the body at all. We've got our front bumper in place now as well. And I'm just test fitting these side pieces. Now it's up to you if you attach these. We're going to attach these when we're painted. We're going to leave them off for now because getting through that air tunnel with the paint's tricky. It's a lot easier with the 2K. With the paint, it's a bit more difficult. So like I say, our front end is glued in place. And where I've glued it in, I've just lost the definition of the panel line. So using a very fine razor saw, this is actually a JLC razor saw, I'm going to add the panel line back. And there we go, we're now ready for priming. Now, a fun story. This brand new Evolution CR, the 2024 version, was released. I used to use Harder and Steenbeck's back in the day, and I thought, you know what, it's supposed to have been improved and got rid of a lot of the traits of the Harder and Steenbeck that I don't like. So I bought one. My idea was to use it solely on this car for everything. After getting to paint, I realised the main flaw that I hate about the Harder and Steenbecks is the paint spitting. I always had issues, and I did it several times on this, on the painting stage, and I had to rectify a few problems. It did it to primer in a bit. You'll see me having to fix an area where I had to reprime. And I did it on the paint as well. And I thought, you know what? It's a massive improvement over the old Evolution. It's definitely a better quality airbrush. It sprays nicer. The trigger action's a lot more positive. But it's just a trait of the spitting. I always had trouble. And yes, more than likely, if I used it solidly, I'll probably get used to it again. But for me, the Iwatas, they're just so easy to use, reliable. It's the way forward. So I think I owned this airbrush for a grand total of 3 days and sold it on. But I tried. I got an informed opinion rather than just a guess. And it's a vast improvement. If you bought this as your first airbrush, you'd be very happy. And if you already had an Evolution, I think you'd see the definite improvement in the way the airbrush sprays. It seems to atomize the paint a lot better. The needle nozzle's a little bit bigger. I think it's 2.3 mil now instead of 2, if I remember correctly. I might be wrong. Oh, is it 2.8? It's 2.8 actually, sorry. 2.8 mil. It definitely sprays better, it atomizes better, the trigger feels a lot better, a lot more positive feel on the trigger. And yeah, it's not a bad airbrush at all, but for me, it's a little bit too finicky compared to the Iwata Revolution I use, and a lot more difficult to clean as well, is my opinion. And when I'm saying clean, I don't just mean taken apart. Yes, I know this can be taken apart with no tools. I mean the physical process of cleaning the paint out with lacquer thinner and a brush. It's not as easy. But anyway, I digress. So yes, you're going to see this for a little bit, and then we're going to change back to the Iwata Revolution later. So like I say, we kept these panels separate. As you see, my little contraption here to hold them with some tattooing cups to stop the panels hitting the floor. So yeah, just a couple of light coats of, I believe it's ProScale light grey primer, or is it grey primer? ProScale grey primer this is. So we'll put a nice few coats on, just build it nice and slowly. Our microfiller primer is absolutely fantastic. It does the job absolutely brilliantly. And as you can see, if those side panels are on, it would make it very difficult getting paint into those side areas. So I think it's definitely beneficial. Now, like I say, spitting. It started to spit primer everywhere. And as you can see, that is my Iwata Revolution back in play. So I was building this, and I believe it was the Impala at the same time. And I think I painted them around the same time. And the spitting paint on the Impala, it just drove me back to my Iwatas. So, like I say, we gave the Harder & Steenbeck a go. It's definitely a beautiful airbrush, and if you've got one, you'd be very happy with it. For me, I'm just too used to my Iwatas. So, anyway, we're all primed. It's all been drying. We've flatted it back as well. I've lost the footage of that, unfortunately. We've sanded it back with a 3000 Tamiya sponge. We've now got our Iwata Revolution CR3, which is a 0.3mm Iwata Revolution airbrush. We've got our Pro Scale Paints Zeus Bronze. Yes, I know it's not a factory OE Ford colour. It's actually a General Motors colour. But I saw the colour and thought, you know what? I think this colour will really suit this car. And I was correct. It did. It looked absolutely fantastic. So we're going to put several light coats of this all over the body. Really nice light coats. No wet coats needed. We do not like wet coats of any of this automotive-based lacquer paint from any company. They are hot paints. Ours are less hot than others. They're a lot more forgiving. So nice light coats is the key. And we're going to put probably 7 to 8 light coats all over this body. We're not going for full coverage. We're just trying to get in all those nooks and crannies and just get a nice even coat down. We'll then let it flash off for 5 minutes and come back and apply subsequent coats as we go. So yeah, it's a really nice colour, this. Once the depth of paint starts to show through, it does look really, really good. So beautiful colour. I know it's not OE. I was going to do it in liquid blue Ford. We're actually going to use that on the upcoming wide-body Revell Iceman Collections Mustang build. So you will see the liquid blue, which is a factory colour on this car. But it was literally a last-minute change of plan to this colour. If you watch the second part when we finish it, I think it looked good. I think it really looked good. Okay, I would guess we're about 3 or 4 coats in now. And as you can see, the colour is coming through absolutely beautiful. The absolutely stunning greeny, goldy brown bronze colour looks absolutely phenomenal. It is a stunning colour, and I think it really suits this shape of car. It really, really does. Laying down absolutely perfect as usual for Pro Scale. Like I say, nice light coats. I'm at about 18 psi here. Like I say, it's a 0.3mm Iwata Revolution CR3. For me, the ideal airbrush for painting car bodies. Absolutely perfect atomization with a perfect size pattern on the spray to get nice coverage on the model. Skipping ahead, we are on our final coat here. I would estimate we put about 8 coats of paint down on this. We've used less than half a bottle, judging by that bottle I can see in the background. I can't tell if that's the paint level or a shadow. It might just be a shadow there, you know. But we've barely used any paint at all. As you can see, the colour's looking absolutely stunning. We've painted the side pieces separately as well, and our wing mirrors too. And as you can see, the paint's gone on beautifully smooth. Just nice light thin coats, building it up, getting all those nooks and crannies, all those air channels in and around all the engine cover. And yeah, absolutely stunning colour. Very nice car, this one. It is a good looking car, the Ford GT. And yeah, making sure we get underneath all the wheel arches, in and around all the sills, in and around any grills. And just keep going until we're happy we've got full coverage. Like I say, 8 light coats. And there we go. Now, we've got a bit of a blurry cam. It's going to come back any second. We've got some Bob Smith's gold, and I'm just putting the glue in a couple of strategic places so we can glue in place those side pieces. So we should get it any second now. Now, I was using a white background here. We've gone back to the blue because the camera just wasn't happy auto-focusing on the white. It kept focusing on me and not the part. So yeah, we've got some Bob Smith's gold in. We're going to glue the top piece in first, and then hold that with a bit of pressure. Just make sure all the sides in. Once we're happy, we're going to glue the side pieces in from underneath. Where they can't be seen, I'm going to apply a bead of Bob Smith's gold. What we don't want this to do is to bleed through, so we're just going to hold it carefully. Just keep a hold of it, a little bit of pressure. Then we're going to grab some Bob Smith's activator and hit it until it's set. And there we go. We've done the other side now as well. There's our activator in the tattoo cup. We've got a micro brush. I'm just going to touch it. That will instantly set the CA glue. And there we go. Now be aware you don't get any CA glue on your fingers because it'll ruin your lovely paint job. While we're here, we're going to glue in place the spoiler as well. Now I did toy with lifting the spoiler. But I thought, you know what? I like it with the look down. So I opted to keep it down on the back of the car. So again, just some Bob Smiths in place. Glue it in place. Just hold it for a second or two till we're happy. And there we go. Looking absolutely fantastic. Panel line wash. We gave it a black Tamiya panel line wash all over. Let it dry for half an hour or so. And then some Winsor & Newton Sansador on a cotton bud. We'll get rid of the majority and then wipe off any excess with a clean bit of kitchen paper. Same on the roof as well. Just very carefully wiping our panel line wash off. Now make sure your CA glue is nicely dry. You don't want to be dragging out fresh CA glue from that panel line. So leave a few hours between everything to make sure it all dries appropriately. And then Orca place inside these air channels. And there we go. That's our panel line wash done. Now a lot quicker than normal, we're over to 2K. So we've got water first. We're going to wet down all of our bench. That way if anything dusty lands on that wet kitchen paper, it should stick to the wet kitchen paper and not lift off and land in our body. We've got a fresh filter in the extractor. We've got my plastic storage case to the left for the body to go when it dries. I'm double gloved on both hands. We've got my full face 3M respirator on. My extractor's on. I've got my skin covered. The windows open a crack. And we've got our ProScale Paint 2K clear coat. So our 2K clear coat from ProScale is a 2-to-1 mix. So it's 2 parts clear to 1 part activator. So in there we've got 10 milliliters of clear. And then 1 part of that will be 5 milliliters. So 2 parts clear, 1 part activator. So 10 ml clear, 5 milliliters of activator. We're using a fresh pipette for each chemical. So once that has been done, we'll pop the lid back on the activator. And then we're going to squeeze everything out and give it a really good mix up. And then once we're done there, that pipette is going to get thrown away and never ever used again. Never be used again, because if you put that in one of the other bottles now, you contaminate it and you'll ruin your 2K set. So with that out, we need to add 5% of thinner. So we've got 10 ml of clear and 5 ml of activator. That's 50 milliliters. To get 5% of that, 10% would be 1.5 ml. So 5% would be 0.75. So literally 0.75 milliliters of thinner in there. And again, give it a good mix up. And again, we're going to throw that pipette away and never use it again. There we go. That's it. It's gone. We're going to strain the 2K through our strainer, which I've done off camera. It's a 190 micron strainer. We sell them on ProScale. And with our Tamiya anti-static brush, we're going to go around and just get everything a dust over. Make sure we're securely fastened to our holder, which we are. And then with our Iwata CR Revolution, which is a 0.5 airbrush. And again, 22 psi, we're going to apply our clear coat. Now we're going to put down one nice semi-wet coat, let that flash off for 5 minutes. Then we're going to apply another semi-wet coat. And then we're going to thin our mixture again, another 10%, and then apply a lighter coat of clear until all the imperfections are gone at the clear coat. Now, this body's got lots of tricky angles and recesses and intakes, so this one you're going to have your A game on here, because you need to make sure you're getting clear coat exactly where you need it. So you're going to have to get that airbrush at all weird angles to make sure that you've got your clear coat appropriately where you need it. So don't be afraid to change angles and get a bit more in. And we're just going to keep going until we have a flawless clear finish on the body. As you can see, we're just going nice and slow with the airbrush. We're overlapping those coats so we keep the wet edge. Just concentrating on getting that nice semi-wet first coat down. There we go. Don't forget to do any other part at the same time. So we've got mirrors to do as well. So they'll be done at exactly the same time. And there we go. So just have a quick look around. Use the light to your advantage. Angle it all. Have a good look around. If you think you've missed anywhere, supply a little bit more. On cars like this, have a really complex shape. It's really important to make sure you've got each coat in there exactly where you need it. A nice even coat of clear everywhere. Then what we're going to do, we're going to pop that back in our plastic box for 5 minutes. And let that flash off. While it flashes off, which means the thinner basically evaporates and the curing process starts, that will get super tacky, unbelievably tacky. When we come back in with our next wet coats, that will give that something to adhere to. So it helps prevent runs. And nobody wants the runs. Mirrors. So the stalks on the car are going to be black. The actual mirrors themselves are body colour. So we're just spraying these parts separate. They've been attached to cocktail sticks using super glue. Again, one light coat of clear on there. 5 minutes have elapsed. We're back with the same mix of clear. It's been left in the airbrush. It's perfectly fine to do. And we're just going to go a little bit slower now. We're going to apply a little bit more of a heavier coat of 2K. Now, we've got our first tacky coat of 2K down. That will help prevent any runs of paint. So we can start laying down the clear a little bit heavier. Now, we're not going to try and get the perfect clear coat off this one. We'll get that at the end with our thinned clear coat. The reason we're going to thin it is it will self-level a bit better and give us a easier to achieve smoother finish. Now, if you choose not to thin it more and stick with our recommended 5%, you'll get a fantastic clear coat. I just think for me, for the optimum clear coat, it needs thinning a further 10% for that last final coat. I think it works a lot better. I've tried many different ways of 2King in the many cars I've built over the last, where are we now, about 16 months since we started ProScale. And for me, thinning that last coat is a bit of a game changer. It certainly makes it self-level a lot better. But again, we're following the wet edge, just being systematic, making sure we get everywhere, all those nooks and crannies, all those vents, all those holes, just ensuring we keep it all consistent. And again, we're going to pop this in the booth for another 90 seconds or so to flash off and go a bit tacky while we remix the 2K. And of course, we're going to paint our wing mirrors at the same time. Now, I did at one point start to edit out the 2K process, but I know a lot of people like to see it being done. And the way all these videos are filmed is as if you're a first-time watcher, you've just bought this kit, and you want to see somebody build it. So that's how all my videos are done. That is my process in my description, and in the way I film things. If you watch them all, they are going to be repetitive, I know. But this, for me, is for that person who's bought this kit and wants to have a look on YouTube for someone who's going to build it. Now, we've got all our previous mix of clear. We're going to put that in a new medicine cup so I can read exactly how much is in there. So we're getting every last drop out of there. The airbrush has been emptied as well. So if we've got, say, 8 millilitres of clear coat mix left, and we want to thin that 10%, we're going to add another 0.8 millilitres of thinner. So literally 0.8 mil, in you go. Just this small amount will make a drastic effect to how this 2K sprays. It will now cover a lot quicker, and it will self-level a lot faster as well. And again, pipette, throw it out, do not reuse. Clear the airbrush out of anything that may be left in there. And then reload it back up and just blow through a little bit of clear before you get started. Always put your colour cup cap on to make sure you don't get any spillages. And now we're going to come in for our, hopefully, what will be our final coat. So, because it's a lot thinner, it's going to spray a lot faster. It's also going to clear, or should I say, go glossier a lot faster. And it's going to self-level a lot easier as well. So you should get an instant finish. So any orange peel that's been left behind from the previous coat should disappear now. Now, as I always say every time I clear coat, you want this to look as flawless as possible when you finish. Now, you're going to get dust in it. I've got dust in several places on this. I think I've got one on the roof and one on the bonnet. It can't be helped. We'll deal with those later when we sand it back and polish it. For now, we're just trying to get and achieve the best overall gloss finish we can get. So if you can still see orange peel, it needs more clear coat. Do not be afraid to put more down. ProScales 2K is very, very forgiving to use. It is by far one of the easiest 2Ks I've ever used. And the results are just absolutely astounding. So by the time you've got one area of paint down and you come around to do the next, that 2K should have self-leveled, and you want an absolutely perfect like glass finish. If you can see a hint of orange peel, just put a little bit more clear coat down. It's fine to do. Exactly like I'm doing there. I can just see a little bit, so I'm just going to give it another light coat of clear. And you see I've sped up the coats now because I don't want to linger too long. And I'm using the light to my advantage, angling everything so I can see what I'm doing. And there we go. So, final piece. All done. Again, just having a quick look around for any imperfections or any areas I may have missed. We're paying attention to all those nooks and crannies, all those intakes, all those engine bay covers and recesses and air channels, because there's a lot on this. There really is. As you can see, the colour looks absolutely stunning. Such a shame about that dust spot right on the bonnet, but it's just one of those things. It really is. But I'm glad I picked this colour because it does look absolutely fantastic. So one final look around. We'll pop it back in the case for another couple of minutes. We'll spray our mirrors, we'll tidy up a little bit, and then we'll whip it back out and have a look how we do before we commit to cleaning up. And there we go. You have a look at that now. That 2K is self-leveled out absolutely fantastic. We've got no flaws in there, no orange peel, no runs. We've got a couple of specks of dust. But overall, we've got a perfectly cleared 2K'd, fabulous looking car body. Wing mirrors are exactly the same as well. Like I say, if you can see orange peel, give it a little bit more clear. Trust me, you can push it further than you think. Now, we're on the bench and we've got my most hated part of building, which is clean up of all the parts. Now, I do all this in one go. I sit and cut every required part off the sprue, clean them all up, mount them all up, prime them in one go, paint them in one go, detail paint them all in one go, decal them all in one go, and then once all that's done, that is the boring work done, we can get ready for final assembly. So it's a case of going through, seeing what needs attaching first, what needs leaving separate. I then separate into colours. So anything black will go on one stand, anything metallic will go on another. And I'm using a variety of things to mount them. I'm using holes that are already there in the plastic to put cocktail sticks to. I'm using bulldog clip or crocodile clips to hold parts if they've got a screw locator point on or a locating peg on. And then on other parts that are more difficult, I'm literally using CA glue to glue in place. Now, I did buy a 3D printer, and this was my first set of wheels I printed off. Now, I modified these myself on Tinkercad. Huge thanks to Paul Young, who helped me out immensely with this. Sadly, the 3D printer was short-lived. The smell was too obtrusive and was giving me headaches. So I tried moving it into the house. That just wasn't viable. And even with a fan ducting the smell out of my cave, it was giving me headaches and a sore throat. And it was also taking up so much of my time away from modelling that I just couldn't dedicate the time needed to. But we will print off some wheels, and you will see them at the end. So we've got some Mr. Surfacer 1500 black, and we're going to prime everything up that needs priming in black. So anything that's going to be black will be primed in black, and anything that's going to be metallic will be primed in black as well. So it's just a case of a couple of light coats. By the time you've been around one bit, you can go around to another, and on your last coat, you can go a little bit heavier. Very forgiving to use, Mr. Surfacer. It's going to go through and paint up everything. I'm not going to show you the entire priming process because it's immensely boring, but just so you get the gist, this is all the parts that require priming in black being done. So the Mr. Surfacer is thinned about 60% with Mr. Hobby Level and Thinner. We're through our Iwata HPC Plus this time, which is my preferred just day-to-day detail airbrush. Fantastic brush, always been one of my favourites. Like I say, you can get these primed in one sitting. By the time you've done one part and worked your way back around again, they're dry, ready for a second coat. So just take your time, make sure you're nice and thorough. and work it around. Now, Mr. Surfacer 1500 Black is actually quite a nice black base colour as well. It's in between matte and semi-gloss, so it's a good kind of satiny colour to use. Our interior is going to be a combination of jet black and Napa black leather from ProScale. So again, I'm going to prime this all in black, and I'm going to do the engine bay bulkhead as well. So, like I say, these are very monotonous times. There was probably 3+ hours of cleanup, about an hour of priming, about an hour, hour and a half of painting. It does take time, but doing it in one go, it's much more efficient and quicker because you're doing less airbrush cleaning, you're doing less cleanup of the bench, and literally when you've got everything painted up, it's such a nice feeling to have it all ready there to assemble. It really is. The seats in the kit are fantastic. They are very, very nice seats. So we're going to go with jet black leather on the majority of the parts, with some Napa black leather accents on the car. Now, another thing as well, while we're painting these, I did contemplate carboning this car, and I did actually get the template. But with the template, because there's so many pieces of carbon, I would have to try and orientate all the carbon parts the correct way to make sure that they matched up. And looking at it, it just looked a nightmare. The first time I built this, I just left all the carbon parts black, and I did exactly the same this time. Yes, it's a little bit of a cop-out, but it just would have proved so time-consuming to try and cut all the parts out, orientate the carbon the correct way, that I just opted not to do it. And can you really notice it on the car? Honestly, not that much. Not that much. But we'll make it up with our FXK build because there's a ton of carbon on that. We've already got parts 1 and 2 out of that, and that'll be back in business soon as well. But yes, I opted to just leave it all black. So we're just going to paint everything in semi-gloss black that we want in semi-gloss black. Again, the Tamiya LP semi-gloss, absolutely fantastic. Lays down really well. You can put down nice wet coats if you need to. Like I say, a good hour and a half spent here just priming, painting everything. So while it is laborious, it's worth doing because you're just done with those jobs straight away. Now metallics, we've got some ProScale metallics here. I think this is ProScale Metallics Bright Aluminium. And as you can see, the coverage on our metallics is absolutely phenomenal. Super fine pigments, really nice coverage. Lays down well, has a nice sheen to it. We do a multitude of different colours now as well. So go over to ProScale and have a look. Try our metallics, you will not regret it. They look absolutely fantastic. They're lacquer based just like the rest of the paints, and they work really, really well. So there we go. There's one part done. We're back to the Iwata CR3. I have 2 Iwata CR3s. One I use for priming and painting bodies, and one solely dedicated towards metallics. That way we get no cross-contamination, we get no metallic flakes in paint where we don't want them, from any residue left behind. And yeah, absolutely fantastic airbrush. So we're going to use a couple of different colours. We're going to do some carbon brakes as well. As you can see, the coverage off our metallics is just stunning. It really is. They are a joy to use. They really are, because there's no other metallics that cover that quickly with that much fine pigmentation. They are absolutely beautiful. It's a range I'll be adding to all the time until I run out of ideas. But as you can see, the colour looks absolutely stunning. Very happy with how that looks. Beautiful. So on to, right, what colour is that? I'm trying to see the bottom. Now the problem I've got, I filmed this nearly a month ago. So I'm a bit rusty on what colours I used. That looks like stainless steel to me. I can't quite read the label, but it does. Like the bright aluminium's over on the left. I think that was stainless steel. This is carbon. This is our ProScale carbon ceramic for the brakes. So this is a nice grey-black colour with nice flecks of a nice metallic colour in it. and it does replicate the carbon ceramic very, very well. So a couple of light coats there over the black, and we'll brush paint our calipers later on. Interior, like I say, the majority of it's going to be jet black leather, and then we're going to do some inserts with some Nappa black, just to break it up a bit. It's not a huge difference, but looking at most of these cars, they had black leather interior. It's a very stylish interior, very minimalistic, and I just went with that ethos. As you can see, we have primed and painted our wheels. I do change the design later. I ended up printing, oh my god, well over 10 sets of these bloody wheels, because I kept having problems. I kept changing things. You'll see a point later on the build where I come to realise the brake discs don't fit in the wheel, so I had to completely redesign them on Tinkercad. We had to add the Tamiya studs in because the file I bought off Colts was for Aoshima or Tamiya rims, but the Tamiya file seemed to be corrupt and it wouldn't let me open it, so I had to modify the Aoshima file and add my own studs in there, which I got wrong several times by putting the wrong size in. It was definitely a learning curve, and while it was fun, like I say, 3D printing, yeah, just not for me. Not for me. Too time consuming in a hobby where it already engulfs all my time, standard across the board. So yes, it was nice having a 3D printer, and these wheels do look really good in the end. They turned out really well, but just too time consuming for me. And yeah, I've got other people out there that can print for me should it need be. So yeah, we're going to go down that route. So our jet black leather looking good. Just several light coats of it all over, and now onto the Nappa black for the seat inserts, just to break it up a little bit. Again, light coats, just nice light coats. We're putting black over black, so it doesn't need a lot of paint at all. The coverage is really good. Don't drop parts like that though. And if you do, give them a little spray over again in case you get any muck on them. And there we go. That's where we're going to end the video today. Thank you very much for watching part 1. We'll be back for part 2. We'll get this project finished. Don't forget, I do have a Patreon. You can get early access on all the videos. You get 3 months early access. You get an exclusive Saturday bench update every week. You also get 10% off Pro Scale paints, and you can be added to a exclusive Facebook Messenger group, chat group, and a Facebook group for patrons only. So there's links for that down below. There's all applicable tiers you can have a look at. And thanks for watching. I'll catch you next time in part 2.